On this episode of Tinkering with Tech, let's have a discussion about live streaming and recorded video. This is a topic for anyone interested in the use of video for personal, business, or education use. Specifically, on this episode, we are addressing live streaming, Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Zoom, webinar, etc. Recorded and edited video, hosted on YouTube, Vimeo, Amazon, or Twitch. The internet seems to be riddled with live video and video on demand now. We can access them on your TV, computers, mobile devices, and we even see it playing in the grocery store and in Times Square, for example. You just can't get away from video these days. It seems the time is now for video of any form. What are your thoughts? Why? Well, that is what we are going to chat about today. Why pick one over the other for specific use cases? Why would you do one over the other? Why should you? I bet you can't. Sorry. All right, let's see if this works now. How about now? Do you hear it now? Okay. I see. It wouldn't be right if I didn't do that. You know it is. Yeah, we want to know how you out there, okay, in the audience feel about video. Do you use it live or recorded or both? Leave a comment telling us your thoughts, please, okay? So, in my eyes, this is the way I see it. Okay, tell me if you hear it now. Just let me know. Why would you do any other way? There you go, faint. Okay.
Oh, very faint.
That's true. It is faint?
Turn it up.
Good.
Turn it up.
Well, that's good to know. That's what I want to hear. So, good. I'm going to turn it up then. Cranking it up so you guys can hear. I just want to make sure everybody can hear everything. All right. To me, it's communication with a real human, okay? It's a super collaborative in many ways. People can ask things live and get their answers live. Recordings give instructional videos to help folks, really, like a help video that people can learn and at their own pace, basically. I can start and stop it, that kind of thing. I think of school, okay? Like school is a live stream. That's your live stream. And then homework, that's your video where you can study at your own pace. So that's my thoughts. Heather?
Well, I was just told I sound like Ethel Merman, so I don't know how excited I am to say. But anyway, to me, live streaming is spontaneous. It's playful and it's exciting. As you may notice by doing this show, it's a little bit dangerous sometimes because things can go wrong and it's a little risky that way. And, a recording seems, in my opinion, more safe, and you can edit out what you don't like, and you can create somewhat of a seamlessly flawless version of yourself. And that's just kind of how I see it sometimes. But yeah, I don't know. Let's look at the audience and see if the audience has anything to say about their use of live streaming or recording. I mean, maybe they have some other feelings about live streaming versus recording. I mean, for example, not being able to hear the live streaming. I'm sure they have feelings about that.
Exactly. There you go. Not being able to hear anything at all, right? Yeah, exactly. And then
I like this. Michael D. Thomas does say that would be a compliment. So I'll take it. Thank you. So Lolan says, you see Lolan's comment there, great use for both. Mm-hmm. Recorded as welcome on a website, live for building community engagement. Exactly. Risky? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
My session Tuesday recorded with no video.
Yeah, there you go. See, there you
go.
go. But you did have the audio, so you could always, send it to a podcast or something.
Yeah, so having the audio, I mean, so here's the thing. I think that there's a use case for both. I think that there are, and I don't want this conversation to turn into I use Facebook Live only, or I would never use Facebook Live, or what, fill in the blank, whatever it is that you're thinking about. This isn't about the platforms necessarily. It's more about the use of live streaming video versus using recorded videos, and one or the other or both, and when would you use them?
Yeah, because I know, don't you on your show, and you just correct me if I'm wrong, I don't know if you do this, but like during the summer when you take a break, don't you throw live videos up there for people to go watch and that kind of thing? Or do you do that anymore? I know you used to and done.
Yeah, I have done that in the past. I've actually done Craft It Not So Live is what I called it, where I had pre-recorded something and then put it up as if we were watching it live together.
That's what it was. Yep, that's right.
Yeah,
that's what it was. Yep.
Yeah, that was an interesting thing, because when in recording it, the process of recording it was as if I'm live, because I'm interacting just like I would when I'm live. But at the same time, I actually got to do some fun things. Like, for example, I took pictures, because I like to integrate Instagram, the use of Instagram during my live show.
Right, exactly.
And so I took pictures while I was creating that recorded video. So hopefully this doesn't get too confusing, but I took pictures, and then in the recorded video, I put up signage that said, now it's time to go to Instagram, like, to get people to go check out Instagram. And then manually in the audience, I then went, when it said that, to Instagram and actually added the pictures.
Oh, that's really cool.
It was kind of interesting, but it was just something, but it was weird to kind of think of yourself in the future doing something that you're not yet doing.
Yeah.
But then preparing for it, just different. But the whole point of this conversation today, though, is to talk about the different things that you can do with it, why you would do it, and maybe some use cases, and hoping
I know Twitch is big on this too. They have where you can put a live video up there, or your last one up there, or that kind of thing. I know they have that. And Heather, you did a great thing on Twitch on one of our shows, and I'll put that up here so you can come back later and you can come up and you can look at that. I hope I pointed the right way. I think I did, but I'm not sure. Is it that way? It's one of those ways, but I'm going to put that in there so you can come back and watch the show. When you rewatch this, you'll have that video in there. But I think that's pretty cool too, because they have the platform already set up that way where you can throw in videos from before. Have you ever done that? Have you done any of that yet, or?
Well, you're talking about like when we did the information video about Twitch. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. I was just talking about Twitch, just so anybody that doesn't know what Twitch is. So.
Yeah. And so then like using the cards here in the YouTube realm to actually connect you to another video. I mean, that's pretty cool concept too, but you have to manually think about that. So here we are live talking about something that you're going to do later for the recorded, right?
Yeah.
It's just a different way of thinking. But I think that part of the problem when people talk about, oh my gosh, I could never do live. I've heard that for years.
Yeah, me too.
For over 5 years. Did you know that?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, I'm it's not like I'm the longest person to ever live stream. I don't mean that, but it was kind of shocking to me to realize it's been 5 years of live streaming. And it's no secret, I love live streaming, and I'll take live streaming over recorded anytime because I'm lazy. That's a good point. There's
production value on that too. There's how much you want to spend on producing that video to get that. I mean, that's a great point as well. I mean, I know I do a lot of fun stuff live, like I add a lot and embellish it, so it's a matter of just switching scenes for me, but the artwork's already done. Whereas if you want to go back and create a video, and like I do help videos as well, when I do those, I've got to put some work into it, exactly like what you're talking about, the lazy part. Live kind of gives you that freedom kind of, what I'm saying? In my eyes, that's the way I look at it.
Well, that's what it's been for me personally. But I know a lot of people are kind of afraid of live. Like they're worried about, I think they're worried about a couple of things. Number one, the mistakes, because they kind of catch you
Mm-hmm.
off guard and then you're kind of flustered and you really want to do a, a, a well produced video. I mean, otherwise, why are you doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're not trying to put out junk.
Right.
So it makes sense that, you don't want mistakes to happen. But what I have found in 5 years of doing this is that when you make mistakes, the first thing that you do is you make it accessible to people who thought it was impossible to do. So when you make
Yeah.
mistakes, you're showing that making
It's
mistakes is
human.
normal.
It's human.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I think the second thing that you do is how you respond to those mistakes. I mean, I know for me personally, there's been a couple of times I distinctly remember one where everything was going wrong. I couldn't get it to work properly. And I fought tooth and nail to get through it until we finally, after about 30 minutes of it not working, I finally said, you know what, we're going to call it this time. I will have everything ironed out and see you next week. And then I immediately went over to Ronnie's group and was like, this is what I just experienced. How do we
That's funny.
And what happened from that was that I learned not to overreact to the mistakes, because all I had to do was one simple thing. If I'd have been thinking a little bit clearer, I could have fixed it a little simpler and we could have actually had a show and it would have been fine. So that's what I learned from that day, is to just, not let it take you out, but, move past it. So how we get through things, I think makes a big difference as to whether you like live streaming or not like live streaming. But I'd like to hear more from the audience. I think
there's a lot of
conversation.
there's a lot of comments and stuff. So we'll go straight to Andrew. Andrew says, to me, it depends completely on the context. Can you imagining the daily user to user being recorded, that kind of thing? And
well, yeah, I mean, obviously you're not going to put that out there as a live stream of just people hanging out and chatting now and then, or even record it and then put it up as little tidbits. Although I've been there and some things are worth recording, but don't do it.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Some platforms are great for live streaming, as others may not be so accommodating. As Michael D. Thomas says that.
Yeah, that's very true. When you're looking at something like Instagram, for example, I love live streaming on Instagram. I think it's really, really cool.
Yeah.
However, not everybody understands how to watch those.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have a mobile device, you're not going to see anything. And if you don't do it within 24 hours, you miss it completely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of an interesting concept. It's good and not good at the same time for me.
Yeah. Miss Sheila says out there, she said, I used it twice today. Once to tell a student how to do something, did not edit, and the other was recordings of the ducks, all of her ducks in a row, maybe, I don't know, or the ducks out back, or there you go.
Yeah, the little ducks out back.
It's a utility, a way to communicate, which is a good point too. I mean,
video is, I think, very important. I think you can express yourself better in video, don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. It's just like, to me, I'd rather have a live conversation with someone in video, especially when, I don't know, you just get, there's something about the mannerisms or something you get from that person that helps you, as opposed to like just text messaging to get something resolved. I think a video call or a video, help video or whatever it is, anything that you're trying to do, no matter what that is, whatever business or whatever.
Yeah. Speaking of that, I have a global position where I work with people all over the world in my day job, right? And we have meetings throughout the day. We might be meeting with a company that actually has multiple offices, and I'm in my office here, and my boss is in his office 2 time zones away, and then 3 different people from the client's team are in 3 different offices across the world. We all get together in a video chat and we can express things, and even though there's some language barriers sometimes, we can actually see that the other person is trying to say something, as opposed to just reading it on the screen. Words get fumbled. Not everybody can express themselves through words properly. So
nice.
Video really makes a huge difference.
Yep, I think so too. That's awesome. That's good. That's a great point. I love that about the different countries, different times, different. Yeah, because
Well,
they
like
might.
Will Land says,
Mhm.
reading others' body language is critical for good communication, and I
Mhm.
believe that's very true.
Mhm.
One of the things that we miss, I think, in this digital age where we're constantly reading tweets, for example, and expressing how we feel about somebody in
Mhm.
140 characters or less. But I know that they moved that up. But anyway, um, that kind of stuff. That's where we're at as a society. I think that video helps sort of break down some of that communication barrier that we've created for ourselves with all this technology.
Yeah. Mark says out there, he says, from a viewer standpoint, I'd much rather watch a live video than a recording.
Oh, now that's an interesting concept. I would like to hear more about that opinion, because do you have a thought on that,
I
Michael?
do, actually. I do.
Okay.
My thing, I do love watching a live video on something that I'm how can I say, without.
Interested in?
Yeah,
Or
yeah. There's a deep interest in it. Like I really want to learn about this or find out something about this. But to just
or
watch a
you like
live
the
video.
players, right? Or you like the
Yeah.
players. Maybe
Yeah.
you just have a vested interest in the people that are talking, not
Yeah.
necessarily what they're talking about.
Yeah, I don't,
Mhm.
but I don't always want to go watch every live stream.
Mhm.
I mean,
Right?
so so that's me. Now I do love to have a video where I can start and stop it, where I can go back to it. Hey, go back to this or check this. I don't have to ask that question and slow the audience down and everything else like that. So I like to have both. But yeah, I like what Mark says there. But like I said, I have to have a deep interest in what the subject is too, though. For me, that's the way I am. Or have fun, or if it's okay, like going to your show. I love to go to your show because I can go out there and have fun in the audience and stuff like that, and nobody reprimands me for it.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I like is like the game show, for example.
Mm-hmm.
The game show, watching that live versus watching it recorded. Now, you don't go in and you don't edit out any of the flat parts or any mistakes or anything. You leave it as is,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I do with my Craft It Live show for the most part as well. So we're both on the same page there. But those particular uh, those particular topics, my live crafting show and your live game show,
Mm-hmm.
are really more about the live interaction than they are about
Good
the
point.
post interaction or any of that. And that's not to say that post interaction is boring or no fun or not enjoyable.
No, that's
It's
a great
just
point.
that there's something different about being there live when
Yeah.
it's happening.
Yeah.
And now you can take a live recording and you can chop it down and make it more of a nugget that you could actually, like you've done before, where you've turned things into something, like you said, you can pause it, you can go back and rewatch that
Mm-hmm.
section if that's what you need to do. But in those cases, I think we're talking about learning, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it really comes down to the topic or the subject at hand, as
Yeah.
opposed to the platform, or you know um, whether you're live or recorded isn't the issue so much as it is what it is about.
I think even if I wasn't doing the game shows, I would go watch the game shows because I've never been able to put an answer out in the.
That's true. That's true. Well, and I've gone back and rewatched ones that I've missed because like I wasn't there or something,
Mm-hmm.
or we've had such a good time I've gone back and rewatched, and yep, turns out it was just as funny the second time around. But
Yeah.
um
Andrew says if I'm deep diving it, I want a recording for Surface Info Live. Give a great overview to me to get me started. Yeah, I mean that's a
Yeah.
great point there too. I love that. Yeah. So I've been through the live event. That's one thing you don't get actually going to a live event. If you go to a live event, you don't get the recording. Whereas, I mean, in real life, I should say, in real life, like if I'm physically sitting in somewhere watching,
right. So
I
we're
don't
part of a
get.
show right now.
Yes.
Okay. And
Like
you're saying,
if I'm sitting out in an auditorium where I just saw this person and we were talking about that, I don't get that. I don't get that recording afterward, to where Andrew brings up a good point. This gives you the best of both worlds.
yeah, I have to agree with that. Or I mean, or you break the rules and you record it on your cell phone, right? I mean, isn't that the way people do
Yeah.
things now?
But if I'm in a live auditorium, I maybe am not able to give the question I want to ask either. And I might be a little bit more hesitant Whereas if I'm watching it live on a video or a live stream, I can ask questions just like these folks are in here. I can take my time. I can still listen to what's going on and that kind of stuff. So it gives you kind of
exactly. You bring up a valuable point. As a viewer,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like you have a lot more power watching a live video stream than you would if you were, say, in an auditorium where
Mm-hmm.
you had maybe a free ticket or a paid for ticket isn't the point, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't necessarily get to raise your hand and say, I have a question, or I'd like to add input to what it is that you're saying. Even it isn't always a question that you want to say. Maybe you just want
that's
to
a
say,
good point.
I don't necessarily agree with
Yeah,
that.
that's exactly right.
You know,
Yeah, and it brings up more conversation that way.
With, even as Lolan and both Sheila and Lolan have said they agree with Andrew. They're not even agreeing with us. They're agreeing with someone else in the audience.
I know. See, that's what's so cool. I mean, that's what's so neat. And you would never get that. You don't get that at a live function where you're there because nobody's going to give that comment. They're not going to give that input. So that's really interesting. Lolan says, when it's live, we are much more apt to stay with the conversation, whereas no insult with stopping the recording, going away, and maybe never coming back. That is true.
Yeah,
too.
That's a valid point she brings up, because I know I'm guilty of it myself. I have many times had every intention to watch a show, a topic that was coming on. The timing wasn't right, and I'd like to go back and watch the recording. But the fact that it's no longer like that here it is live moment, that moment has passed, so there's no urgency really. So I know in the back of my head I can go watch that anytime. Maybe that's the reason why Instagram Live going away after 24 hours is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because it gives you that sense of urgency. I don't know. But then I tend to forget and not go back and watch, or I start watching part of it, get interrupted, and I never go back to it. So I can totally relate to what she's saying.
Mark says that's why I like YouTube, because I can rewatch and ask questions post-show. That's a good point.
Exactly. I love that.
Yep. And Michael D. Thomas says, for instance, on YouTube, you can post questions unless you're attending the live. You can't, post questions unless you're attending the live event. But on Twitch, as a MOD, I actually am able to deny or allow anything put in comments after presentation. You're right, Michael D., but you can actually leave a comment at the bottom of that video in YouTube too, after it's done. Yeah. I mean, I know it won't be part of the, when you share, live stream and when you share, but you can always go back and add comments and put that in there, and probably get the person that created it to give you some response back.
Well, and I mean, a prime example of that is, with that 5 years of live streaming, I've also done recorded videos, begrudgingly put the time and effort into not being lazy and actually putting together an art piece, and then taking that recording and knocking out all the parts that don't belong, etc., and then posting a video. I've had a number of comments on those videos years later.
That's freaking awesome. That's awesome.
I mean, it's really cool when, just yesterday I got a comment on, it was a question asking me if they could use, I think it was regular baby powder in the embossing buddy thing. This is a video that I did, I think, before I ever live streamed. This was before I ever live streamed.
That's crazy.
That video.
That's crazy.
It was, yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
It was like a 3-minute video or something that I did. Still gets traffic. So, I mean, they both have their place, obviously, live streaming and recorded. But I know a lot of people who say to me they will never do live streaming. It's just not for them. And so I want to know, are you one of those people? And if so, why? Tell me, because I really like to know.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a great point. And I'm going to bring up what Miss Sheila says right here too. She says, I haven't been in a live presentation in probably 10 years. Y'all have just made me realize that. So I don't know if it's fear or if it's, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if it's...
I think what she's talking about is like in an auditorium.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, an actual live presentation. I'm sorry. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a great point.
She's been to live presentations, even like on this side of the screen.
Yeah.
I've seen her.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, I misinterpreted it.
But anyway, okay, so
yeah, so back to your point. So back to your point, yeah, the fear. Those people that are afraid. Tell us if you're afraid. If that's a fear you have. I know some of you've actually been on the show with me. Andrew is a good example. He's been on talking about Zoom, so his fear is gone as far as that goes. But I know that sometimes it's so funny. Before we even got in here, Heather says, "Do you ever get nervous? Are you nervous tonight?"
Well, I asked you that question because it was something that was asked of me when I did the art concert, which was both live
Hmm.
streaming and live in front of an actual physical audience.
Hmm.
And you would think that would make me nervous, but you know what actually made me the most nervous? This is really interesting to me because this past weekend we had a memorial service for my uncle, and I stood up in front of this room full of people. Most of them I've known over the years, but there were a lot of strangers there. Honestly, there were a lot of strangers there. And
Right.
it's a great big room. I stood up. Now, this is like a live presentation, unrehearsed, in front of people, no cameras, okay? I was more nervous at that moment when
Wow.
I said, "Can I have your attention?" Um, I just want to talk a little bit about my Uncle Terry to get the ball rolling. And almost right then and there, my voice started quivering. I got really, I'm not joking.
That's
I had
crazy.
not done that at all. And it's 5 years of sitting in front of a camera.
Hmm.
That's way less intimidating than all those faces staring at me.
Hmm.
That was goofy. And I had just done the art concert in front of a live studio audience as well as the
Yeah, it's
international
true.
audience that was online.
That
So
is true.
what's my problem?
I don't I don't have a problem talking in front of anyone really. I really don't. I don't there's no fear there. I never have had that fear. I'm never I mean I get butterflies, but I don't think it's a fear. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't think I don't think it ever gets to the level of fear. But
Yeah.
I definitely am nervous or get butterflies or like, "Oh, wow, this is going to be I'm not sure how this, whatever." And I've had stuff go wrong. Everybody knows. I mean, even on my shows and things like that, I had stuff going, and I'm working in the background trying to fix it while the show's still going on. So I try and do that kind of stuff. So
You just try to think of all the things that could go wrong because
yeah.
that just keeps you from getting nervous, right?
Yeah, the thing is, and the other thing is when you're trying to do so much, if you just go back to just, hey, here's a video with all the people on it and just do whatever, then that's okay too. People don't
Right.
care. I mean, that's the
That
nice
was where
thing.
I was going to go with. Do you think that it has anything to do with trying to going back to what we said at the beginning, trying to create
Hmm.
that perfect persona, that perfect situation that says I can live stream and do it well?
Hmm. Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. And Lil Ann brings up a good point. You may have had a fear of bursting into tears just because it was your uncle and all that kind of stuff too.
Oh, no, no, it
So,
wasn't that. It was all those faces stopped and looked at me
okay,
and the room went silent. Yeah, no,
okay,
if I told you my story about him, you'd laugh. It was a great
okay,
story. So,
okay.
no,
I
you know
got
me. I don't do tears.
you. Yeah.
I do laughs. But no, I think what she said, and this is it. I think this is the key, and it's awesome that you picked up on this, Lowland, but I am usually nervous when I don't feel prepared.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I was going when I said it was, there was no
Hmm.
script, there was no there's no art for me to focus on because it's usually the show that I do is not about me, it's about the art anyway. So
Hmm. Hmm.
all these eyes were looking at me like I had something important to say. I think that's what freaked it out. But
That's funny. That's
yeah, it's
funny.
funny.
Sort
So
of.
well, yeah. So Richard Clarkson, I was in one of those lights, camera, action HOAs.
I
Now let's
love
talk
those
about that.
things.
That was an awesome
Concept.
program, huh?
It was an awesome concept. What a great
Yes,
idea.
absolutely, absolutely. It broke barriers because it allowed people a safe environment where they could get in front of the camera and
Hmm.
actually experience live streaming without
Hmm.
any of the hoopla.
So awesome.
And that's kind of where I was going was I think we self-induce some of the pain that
Hmm.
comes from wanting to be better than we were before or better than a show we've done before or just trying to improve ourselves. Sometimes we cause more strife than is necessary.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I don't, my thing is too is I, I guess because everybody they go watch TV and that is a huge production. They watch a movie, that's a production. That's a
Hmm.
fulfilled, done, completed production. Okay?
Hmm.
So when you go and watch a live stream, that's not necessarily a
Oh, I know.
production
I
that's
I
going to
know. I
be
mean, I've got
equivalent.
an old wrinkly green sheet hanging behind me right now, held up by push pins and a bull clip over there. So you don't have to tell me about it not being a big production, Michael.
Right,
I
right.
know. It
Well,
was
but that's my point.
50
We try
cents
to
that
make it.
year.
We try to make it be. Oh my gosh, it's got to be this, and it doesn't have
Right.
to be that.
Right.
You
We did,
know.
like I said, we do it to
I
ourselves,
know.
right? We think we have to be an ABC production or whatever,
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
we don't. Yeah. So I like what Mark says here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm intimidated by seeing my face on screen. I don't mind the speaking aspect, and I think that's it for me too, Mark. I don't necessarily like being the attention. I don't freak out. People watching this are going, yeah, right. I I really don't like being the center of attention. That's
You'd
not
rather
my
be the
goal.
art, especially in like your case where you're doing your stuff. You'd rather the art be seen, and that's
Always the
yeah,
art.
yeah. I
I
got you.
don't like doing interviews that talk about me and my business or my, what I do. I don't like those kind of interviews.
Yeah.
You want me to display art? Sure. Let me get
Mm-hmm.
out of the picture.
Yeah. Even my help videos, I've actually taken me more out of it, and even out of the bottom corner, I just put what's up on topic. I just think that I think getting across what you want to get across, if that's you, if you've got that personality, that's fine, and use it. I mean, use that to your advantage. But if you're trying to get something, a point across, I mean, if it's an interview or like what we're doing or a show or something like that, I think that's important to see the faces. I think
Hmm.
that's a time when it is important to see the faces. But it doesn't have to be the topic. It doesn't have to be
Right.
the full thing. So yeah, I see the point of intimidated. I mean, on the game shows,
Yeah.
I don't even put myself. I put you guys on there.
Hmm.
I do a little video of me when you guys are guessing, something like that. But otherwise, I'm not even on the video. So I don't know, it's just things like that. Go
Yep.
ahead.
Yep. So let's look at all of this stuff from like a business point of view.
Yeah, let's do
Let's
that.
say let's say that from a business point of view, there are positives and negatives to both sides of video, to live streaming as well as recorded. So you can throw together some real quick app created video and and not have a lot of tools, not spend a lot of time, and you can put together this really quick video. And let's just say for example that you spelled a couple of the words wrong in there
Mm-hmm.
that came across the screen. And this video, I mean, whether you spent time on it or not, you spent a lot of money on it or not, is not the point. The point is that you got something out there, you did what best you could do at the moment, but you made a couple of flaws. Now maybe you don't even catch those flaws, maybe those flaws are caught by other people, and maybe they don't even tell you, but the point is they're out there and it represents your business. So whether you had done it live or recorded, it's still out there and it's not necessarily putting your best foot forward. So my question to the audience is, what are your thoughts on this? Like, obviously, once you figure it out, you take this video down, but I mean, but how do you get through working a business, especially if you're somebody like myself who's
Yeah.
uh, a bootstrapping entrepreneur who does like 15 different hats and some of them at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying, there's a lot of people in the audience I know who are in the same situation where you're just trying to do everything you possibly can, and not everything is always great, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you choose and how and why?
You
I'd
know,
like to know.
Lon says out there too, he says, I worry about running out of things to say. I don't have the gift of gab. And then Miss Sheila said, my students are afraid to get on camera, so this has helped me understand their problems. And I think, yeah, I don't know. I think that's a tough thing, a fine line.
Yeah, for some reason being in front of the camera makes some people nervous. Like Mr. Crafter and I, Greg has come in front of the camera a few
Mm-hmm.
times over the last year with me, and it actually makes him more nervous to be in front of this camera than it does to stand up in front of a crowd full of people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how we're that different, but we are that different, and it's kind of interesting to be able to see somebody else's reaction to something that's very, very simplistic to me. Um, but if during a live video one of us gets nervous and says something that we might necessarily not want on camera, there's nothing you can do about that.
That's right.
You're
Yeah.
kind of stuck with that.
Mm-hmm.
And from a business point of view, what is that like? What does that do to your business? Does it create more trust in the sense that, oh, it turns out they're human after all, or does it, egg on your face and now your business is ruined? I don't know.
I'd love to hear what some people say about that, because I agree with you on that one. I'd be real curious your thought from the business side of things. I know some people, there's actually people out there, YouTube is their business,
Very true. Very true.
And also, other platforms as well. They do all of their business on particular platforms and live streaming and videoing and everything else. So,
yeah, for example, the Craft Shack is almost 99% video, and about 80% of it is live streaming video on a couple of different platforms. So, what are you going to do? If you mess up, you mess up, right?
Yeah.
So let's see. And I like what Andrew says. You say oops, rewind, and go on.
Yeah. Yes, that is pretty much what you have to do with live, because you don't even have live TV anymore. Because all the bad stuff.
When the sound doesn't work?
Turn it on and listen to everybody yell at you.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, trust me, I've been through it many times, and there's nothing wrong with what I do in making it part of the show.
Yeah.
The people actually expect it now, you know what I'm saying? So definitely
I think it goes back to what I said in the beginning, is how you handle it says a lot about who you are in general. So, if you throw your mic down and say a few cuss words and walk off, well, I don't know how much, trust you're building there, but.
Yeah. Michael says,
I was just going to say, you're going to read that comment from Michael D. Thomas?
Yeah, he says, editing afterwards is always a fantastic concept, in my opinion, and each platform handles situations like that differently.
Let's talk about that for a minute, because YouTube recently made a change to live streaming, which allows the chat to, this live chat that we're actually talking about and reading their comments, they now allow that to be a part of the recording. But if you do any kind of editing to that video, then you lose that live chat replay. Is the live chat that valuable? It would have to be a pretty big faux pas for me to get rid of to take it down, edit it, or to even use any of the enhancement tools within YouTube to make changes to it. I'd like to hear your opinion on that.
I totally agree with you. It's not enough for me to go edit it for one mistake. In what I do now, mine's not quite business like yours is, you know what I'm saying? Even my help videos or any of these videos that I do on Wednesday, it's going to be tough for me to take it, like if the sound not being there.
Like somebody using the microwave, for example. Or stuff like that.
Or I use, like, for example, my lead-in music, the 12-minute lead-in. I used to cut that out. Now I don't cut it out. The reason
because you'd lose the chat.
Exactly, I lose the chat, so I'm not going to cut it out now. And the other thing is, it's not too bad, and it has a timer, so they can always fast forward to the point where that, can go up to that point to get to the very beginning anyway. So I'm fine with that. So all good stuff, though.
For those of you who are watching the recording or have watched recordings of previous shows, I would love to know your opinion of that. Does the timer help you realize, or are you just familiar enough with the format of the show that you just know you can skip that section in the beginning and you'll get to the part where there's no sound, and then you watch them fumble to turn the mics on, that kind of stuff? Or are you just now so used to how live streaming on YouTube is being handled that that's really not that big of a deal? Or maybe it's a whole nother thing. You can't stand it and you wish people would stop doing it.
Yeah,
because I do the same thing with my show, but I don't have a timer. I want one. I wish I knew somebody who could help me out with that.
I can help you out with that, no problem.
Do you know anybody who knows anything about tech and would be willing to teach me?
I tinker with it anyway.
Yeah, well, okay.
There's a community we have, but no. Let's see. Yeah, Michael D. Thomas just put in, yep, YouTube does eliminate the live chat in Heathercrafter, but for the instance, Twitch does not. And yes, Michael Daniels, delay settings actually help in my opinion. Okay, good. I like that. I like to give people a chance to say, "Oh, hey, he went live," because there's a lot of times I'll do that. I'll get on somebody just starts their live stream and they're live streaming and they're going, and I've missed about 2 or 3 or 4 minutes because I couldn't get to a point where I could watch them, but I wanted to watch them.
Exactly.
So I feel that lead in. Hey, there's my warning. I've got about 10 minutes. Boom. That's kind of the concept and the way I came up with it at first, why I even wanted to do it.
Yeah, and that's the reason why we adopted it with the Craft It Live show, because multiple times we had people coming in about 5, 10 minutes into the show going, "Oh no, I missed it. I'm late," all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. So when you lead a minute or two before the hour, that's what we've decided to do. And we have this sort of slideshow going, and then it notifies people they have a chance to come see it and they haven't missed any of the art yet. So it's awesome to me. I think my favorite part about this whole concept is there's no one way to do this.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many options out there. I think there's a big reason why we're having this discussion, to talk about what we can do, what's available, um, and what you can do. Bring back the comments. Let's see
Okay.
what the audience has.
And also opinions. My thing is, I like the collaboration. I like when people
Agreed.
give us stuff. I mean, that's one of the
Yeah.
reasons why I love live, where I feel like, like my videos, even when I create a video or do a video or I have an instruction video, I don't get near the comments and responses that I do than when I'm live. So to
I totally
me,
agree.
I'd rather have that because I'm a people person. I'd rather have that collaboration.
Well, isn't that why we went live in the first
Yes.
place? I mean,
Yes.
why do a live show if you don't want any interaction?
Right.
If you're just doing a live show to have a recording, you can do that
Right.
with just your recording device
That's
and
right.
never have to use data to broadcast at all,
Yep.
which I'm very data oriented. So,
Right. You're driven by data, especially on the
yeah.
business side there for your business,
Yeah.
especially. Yeah. Richard says live chat, you can see the other person's reactions where when you have just voice or even just text, you don't really
Mhm.
know their reaction. Facial expressions tells a lot about someone.
I totally agree, Richard.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. And Lowell Ann says, I use the pre-show and timer when doing live. Then after the show, I edit it out. The comments are on my website, so she hasn't lost anything, which it
Mm-hmm.
totally makes sense. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Michael D. Thomas says, yes, ma'am. Too many options to fail, in my opinion, at Heather Crafter. And she winks. And he winks. It's
And Richard says, it's not what you take when you leave the show behind you at the end. It's not what you take when you leave the show behind you at the end. I'm messing that up, Richard. Sorry. It's what you leave behind you when you're gone.
I'd like to
That's
buy a
what he
vowel,
says.
please. No,
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
me too.
Yeah, no.
But I think I get what he's saying.
Yeah, me too.
I get what
Yeah.
he's saying. He's you're right. You're right about that. It isn't about what you're doing right now. It's about what
Mm-hmm.
you've left for others to experience. So.
Andrew says, Michael, you need to live stream the preparing of the tutorial recordings. Yeah, I mean, I know that's
That would be very valuable to some people.
well, some people it might. I don't know. I mean, but I tell you, one thing that's kind of cool too, and I thought about this too, because just in all of our gang that knows each other, anybody that's rewatching this, a lot of us get together and chat a lot of times in our community, and the community we talk about Twitch and how people are over there just painting and somebody's watching them, or somebody's doing an Excel spreadsheet and somebody's watching them, or
Or
somebody's
editing
doing
videos
or whatever,
or
and they're just
whatever.
and
Yeah.
all they're doing is just watching them. So
Yep.
yeah, so
Well, okay, so let's talk about a little bit about platform and how that makes a bit of difference, because Twitch is like a different atmosphere than what
mm-hmm,
we've been used to.
mm-hmm,
Because when you're on Twitch, you're sort of in a chill mode. You're not necessarily there to gain as much information as possible and be prepared to create whatever it is you went there to learn. You actually just sort of there as it's more of like Google used to have this term called Hangouts. You guys remember those? It's much more like Hangouts,
yeah,
honestly, because
yeah,
you're just hanging out.
yep, that's true.
Yeah. Whereas what we're used to is much more of a, well, like what we're doing here, a sort of talking heads conversation.
Mm-hmm,
You came here for a purpose. There was a title to the show
mm-hmm,
that you expect something out of it. You came here to listen and glean some moment. Maybe you didn't stick around because the chat just didn't go quite where you thought it was going to go. So the title gave you an idea to come here, and then you listened a little bit and you decided you weren't going to listen anymore, or you've hung on every word because this is exactly what you came here for, or more than what you were expecting, or because you get to interact and chat, that's why you're here. Maybe that's the way it works over on Twitch for some folks too, that's the reason they're there, to interact with that chat and that connections made with others that have the same interests. It's just a different atmosphere, just a different atmosphere than what we're used to. And so I think that some things work better in some platforms than they do in others. And I think that's what we're experiencing when we talk about, giving this an idea, like you said, possibly doing something like that over on Twitch.
Yeah, absolutely. I know Michael Thomas says behind the scenes is really big on Facebook right now. I was actually thinking about, I think I told you maybe Andrew or whatever, with the game show, moving it over to Twitch. Moving the game show over to Twitch, but also having like a camera over here for behind the scenes on YouTube. So you can watch both or either one, but you can kind of see what's going on. Just kind of give a perspective for a behind the scenes kind of thing, given both. Because Twitch, is about games. And that's no surprise. I know they're trying to get art and some other things, different things and tools and things and stuff. Different communities are building and things like that. But I think this would fit in. The game show would fit in, and just to see if we could get some kind of audience over there.
I think the cool thing is that I haven't seen anything like the game show over there. I mean, it's about gaming, as in, watching first-person games and whatnot on digital.
But you had some great suggestions for that too. I think we got some great ideas that we could probably do and be really kind of cool, different.
Yeah, don't tell them. No, don't say anything. No spoilers.
I'm not. But I think that's what I'm going to do with just the game show. We'll still do H&M here. We'll do it on YouTube. Still do it the way we're doing it. I think it's important to stick around on this platform, but maybe having the two. I don't know. It'd be really kind of cool. I don't know. We'll see.
No, I like it. And I like how Michael Thomas talks about, the behind the scenes presentations on Periscope and Facebook, specifically from local newscasters. Now, one of the first Facebook Live things that I saw was actually a black and white, like a large, what do you call that? Like a wide angle shot.
Mm-hmm.
It was black and white, wide angle shot, and it was just of like the entire stage of a newscaster. I think it was like Good Morning America or one of those types of shows.
Yeah.
And you just basically watch all the production people walking around, watch them getting their hair, situated and everything. This goes on for an hour. I'm glued to the screen. Mm-hmm. I cannot look away. It's like a train wreck. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for something to happen, knowing there's no sound, there's no color. It's so zoomed out that you can't see specifically who it is you're looking at. But I don't know why this is fascinating.
Yeah, it's so, and it is. I know exactly, because I was drawing the same thing. We have a local, she's our local news person, and she does hangouts. She does hangouts behind the scene. So anytime they're in commercial, you get to see all of this stuff going on. And even when they go live, she leaves it showing.
Broadcasting from a different point of view,
right? It's so stinking cool. It's so neat. It's so interesting. I think it's just intriguing to see. Like everybody says, the behind the scenes, everybody kind of wants to see, hey, how are you doing that? How are you getting that to happen? What's there? That kind of thing.
One of the most popular things that we do here has nothing to do with my personal part of the show or anything, but T-Dog takes these behind the scenes pictures where he's showing like what the mess looks like, and me standing there on one foot because one of my legs is cramping or something while I'm paintbrushing, he's taking a picture. They love that stuff. Eat that up way more than the picture I've painted, I promise, every time.
Yeah, no, it really is kind of cool to see that, especially when you're doing something like that, like what you're doing. You're doing something there's something physical there, where I'm just showing what I'm doing on screen. So
yeah, but what you're doing is really cool too. I mean, even just in this show, I've seen the scene switch probably I don't know 20 times, maybe more. And I know that it's a push of a button that you're doing, but I can't, in my mind, fathom what that's like. There you go. Thank you. I can't fathom what that actually looks like for you unless you show a behind-the-scenes camera shot of what it is. And when you do it, that would be really cool to see.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, people get to see
So
the
I
stream
almost
deck.
feel like we've made a consensus that live streaming is better than recording, but I didn't mean it for that when we started this whole conversation. That wasn't the intent of today's show. I know it says live streaming versus recording, but it wasn't like, a knockdown drag out fight or anything. It was just a discussion between the two and why you would use them one over the other. I lean towards live streaming. Again, it's because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
I just don't like editing.
Yeah. No,
But
I
I
get
think
that.
there's purpose for both.
Yeah. There's just so much work that goes into the recording part, in my opinion. And I know that because I do that. I actually create those videos and do those kind of things. So to me, it's difficult to say I favor one or the other. I do enjoy doing both of them, but I will say that the I have to agree with you just on I guess the laziness of it. I don't know how else to put it, but you know what I'm saying?
I have no other words. I'm just going to be honest. I'm late. I really don't. Although I will get back to I will take back just a little bit because recently I got new software at the end of the year last year, and I know how to use it a lot better now. And it's almost like the tools matter more. So like now that I have the ability to do stuff, like I have the knowledge to do some things, it actually isn't as bad as it once was. So I've kicked out a few more recorded videos, edited videos, and they're actually not that hard to do, it turns out, when you have the right tools. Who knew?
Andrew makes a funny comment out there. He says, looking at this production and recording is more work.
Yeah, not this particular production, but no, I'm kidding. I'm teasing you, Michael. I
No.
know that you put a lot of hard work into making sure that this looks really cool. And there's so many things that I've learned just watching what you've put into and done. I know several people out there have also learned quite a bit from watching you do your thing with your live streaming, and you're always stretching things to the limit. I feel like there's no ceiling. There just is no ceiling. It's as high as you can get it.
And I have some tricks up my sleeve too for what's coming up in the next half of our year here too.
I'm hearing some foreshadowing there.
Well, I got to get rid of all the H&M stuff, get tinkering with text, and that's some of the stuff. So I got to do that.
One day
So I
we'll
got some other
actually you change the name. Now we'll actually change the production.
There's so many scenes. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to recreate just about everything. I'm just like, oh wow, that's a lot of work. So it's just a matter of having to do all that.
Yeah, that's why I quit, because I don't want to do it.
Forget it. I'm out of here. I do not want to do any of that. I get it. So yeah.
I didn't quit, by the way. Just if anyone even heard that, I don't know.
But I would like to say too, our community that we built through the H&M community, I think is amazing. You guys give some great input. The workshops that I've done and the ones that you've been able to participate in have been fantastic. I hope they're helpful, because that's really what I wanted you to get out of it is maybe you learn a little something and you gain something from it.
Well, and I hope that even like a discussion like today, where it's not like we sat down and took you through step by step how to do something, but we had a discussion. Maybe we've opened your mind to a little bit of things. Maybe we've even prompted you to do something a little bit more than you did before, or maybe we've turned you off completely with live streaming and you'll never do it. I don't know. But whatever it is, we hope that you'll, let us know how you feel about things and how you feel about these discussions, and even consider joining the community, because if you're not already a member, because that's where we get into deeper discussions and deeper how-tos. So if somebody says, I'm interested in live streaming and your talk actually made me want to do it more, I'm just not sure how, that's the perfect place. We would take you by the hand and actually show you exactly how to do whatever it is that you want to do, really.
Well, and that's what I loved about the workshops is like when you did the YouTube one, we could open up our YouTube and follow along and do the same thing. That's what the workshop's all about. Or if
just
I was
like
going
when you
over
did Pixlr, I mean,
exactly.
Come on, nobody can.
Everybody could do their own picture and at the same time. It was awesome. It was great doing that stuff.
And here's the thing: in a live stream video, if you don't set out, this is what you're going to do, these are the goals that you're going to achieve in this video, and then have some sort of example to show. If you don't do that, then you have a video nobody wants to watch. But in a workshop, you can stop and say, okay, well, let's look at your picture and see exactly what it is that you did so we can figure out how to do. Oh, you want to learn how to do that? Okay, we'll put aside my agenda and let's do
Yes.
what you want to learn. That's what the workshops are for, and that's one of the best parts about that. And then, I mean, that's live, right?
Yeah,
And then it's recorded for anybody to watch who may have missed it,
that's true.
which, or for the person who is going through it to go back and rewatch it. So, I mean, talk about putting it all together and wrapping it up in a nice bow. That's the workshops do that for sure. Live streaming with recorded. It's a win.
There you go. There's our show.
All right. Thanks for joining.
Absolutely. And community members, we will put the post out there in the community and you can join us. Feel free to come in and join us. I tell you what, to me, this was really great. I enjoyed this a lot. Next Wednesday, I will be probably doing a show by myself, probably an out on the deck kind of thing. I might do that again
Nice.
because I'm gone for 10 days on a cruise. Just anybody that didn't know that. So I will be gone. So
And what exactly is your address again, so we know where to get the big screen TV? No? All right, fine.
I think you already have
Just
that.
kidding.
But anyway.
I do, but I want to make sure anybody else would.
There
Never
you
mind.
go.
All right.
There you go. There you go. That's a good point. I like what Andrew says out there, just real quick in the comments. He says we need to
Okay.
call them work along instead of workshop. I so agree with that. I so agree with that.
Yeah, that's
Because-
a great idea.
Because I learn stuff sometimes when I'm in there as well. So it's really kind of cool. Yep, I agree with you. All right, gang. Thank you so much. Everyone, you are invited in. So be looking for the link in the community when this ends. I'm going to hit the end. Miss Heather, thank you so much for coming and joining.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming to our show.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me to our show.
I invite you
Don't
every
bother
week.
me. Don't bother me. I'm trying to send out a link, Terry. You're bothering.
Thank you, folks. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for coming tonight. We really do appreciate it. And you guys have a great night.